there is a kind of light that only exists in the last hour before dark. A gold that lanes, that stretches shadows long across a floor you've walked 1,000 times. Stand in it once. You will feel something strange happen in your chest. A tightening, then a release. As if the body already knows what the mind refuses to say out loud. Tomorrow is not a place. It has no shape. No weight. No coordinates on any map you could ever hold. And yet we build entire lives on top of it. Whole cathedrals of intention, stacked on a foundation that has never once existed in front of us. Think of the last time you said later. Not as a plan. As a small, quiet act of faith. A bet placed against nothing. You didn't feel the wager. Most people never do. Here is the strange part. Every civilization that has ever risen has built the same temple. Different stone, different gods, different names for the hour that hasn't come yet. But the same structure underneath. A promise. A postponement. A tomorrow that stands in the doorway holding all our unlived days. We call it hope, sometimes. We call it planning, patience, wisdom, discipline. All useful masks for the same trembling animal instinct, the refusal to believe that this breath, this hour, this unremarkable Tuesday, might be the only one we get. So we wait. We wait to call the friend. We wait to say the true thing. We wait to forgive, to begin, to rest, to leave, to stay. Convinced, somewhere beneath language, that there will always be more room on the calendar. More light left in the day. Another chance stacked neatly behind this one, like coins we haven't spent yet. But what if there isn't? What if the infinite tomorrows were never real? Only a trick of scale, a horizon that recedes exactly as fast as we walk toward it? What does it do to a person, to build a whole life on a horizon that was never meant to be reached? Let's sit with that question a while. Not to answer it. To feel its weight settle in the room like dust after a door closes. Somewhere, right now, someone is making that same bet. Quietly, without ceremony. A daughter deciding not to call her father tonight, certain there will be another Sunday. A man putting off the letter he meant to write for years, trusting the paper will still be blank when he's ready. None of them feel the wager as it's placed. The bet only becomes visible afterward. In hindsight, in absence, in the particular silence of a phone that used to ring. We are, all of us, gamblers in a casino with no visible clock. And the strange comfort of that casino is this: as long as no one shows you the clock, you can keep playing forever. That is the real machinery of the illusion. Not a lie exactly, more like a room with the windows painted over, so bright inside that no one thinks to ask what time it is outside. And here the image begins to change shape. Consider the calendar itself. A human invention, a grid laid over something that has no lines. Numbers on paper cannot hold time any more than a net can hold water. We drew the grid because the alternative, an undivided, endless present, was too vast to carry in two hands. So we cut it. Named the pieces. Called them Monday, called them 2027, called them someday. And felt, for a moment, in control. But control was always the illusion beneath the illusion. Go back further. Before calendars, before clocks, there was only the sun rising and falling, in a body that grew tired and slept and woke again. That rhythm asked nothing of us but presence. No tomorrow to manage. No later to protect. Just the fire, the dark, the return of light. Over and over, without promise, without guarantee. Somewhere along the way, we traded that rhythm for a ledger. A ledger of hours we haven't lived yet, debts we assume the future will pay. And the strange cruelty of it is this: the ledger feels safer than the fire ever did. A number on a page is quiet. It doesn't ask anything of you today. But a flame. A flame asks everything, right now, or it asks nothing at all. Think of the old harvest festivals, scattered across every continent, in every language humans have ever spoken. Each one built around the same terror, wearing different clothes. Will the grain last? Will the cold end? Will there be another spring to plant into? These were not idle questions. They carried the full weight of survival, and so the answer had to be made sturdy, wrapped in ritual, spoken aloud until it felt solid enough to lean on. We still perform the ritual. We've only changed the props. A calendar app replaces the harvest song. A retirement account replaces the grain store. The shape of the fear hasn't moved an inch. Only the costume it wears to the ceremony. This is the first layer, the outer skin of the idea. The myth of endless tomorrows is a cultural machine, a comfort built by hands afraid of the dark. Beneath it, something older waits. Move inward now. Past the calendar, past the culture. To the body itself. Notice how the chest tightens at the thought of an ending. Not death exactly. Just endings. The last conversation with someone before they change. The final version of a place before it's rebuilt. The version of yourself that existed only for a season and never returned. The body flinches from these thoughts the way a hand flinches from a flame it hasn't touched yet, but somehow already remembers. This flinch is old. Older than language, maybe older than the species itself. It is the nervous system's oldest superstition: if I do not name the ending, it cannot arrive. If I keep saying next time, the door stays open a little longer. But doors do not care what we call them. Here is where the myth turns personal. Because the illusion of infinite tomorrows isn't really about the future at all. It's about avoidance. It's a story we tell so we don't have to feel the full, unbearable weight of this single moment maturing completely, and finally, and only once. Feel that for a moment. The difference between "I'll tell her I love her eventually" and "this might be the only chance I get." One is weightless. Diffuse. Comfortable in its vagueness. The other sits in the sternum like a stone. Heavy, undeniable, alive. Most people spend their whole lives choosing the weightless version. There's no shame in this. The body was never built to carry finality all day, every day, without rest. A person who truly lived every hour as the last would burn through themselves in a season. Intensity has a cost, and the mind knows this instinctively, even when it can't explain why. So it reaches, again and again, for the soft fog of later. Not out of weakness. Out of a kind of exhausted wisdom, worn smooth by repetition. But there is a difference between resting inside the fog and disappearing into it completely. One is a breath. The other is a life spent holding its breath, waiting for a signal that never quite arrives. Not from laziness. Not from cowardice, even. From mercy, almost. A kind of self-protection so old it feels like instinct. To live as though this moment is final, every moment, would be unbearable for long stretches of ordinary time. So the mind invents the buffer. The maybe later. The soft, wide field of tomorrow where nothing is quite finished and nothing is quite lost. And yet, grief always arrives to correct the record. Grief is the moment the myth collapses. The phone call. The empty chair. The message left unsent because you assumed, the way you always assume, that there would be a better time to send it. Grief does not argue with the illusion. It simply removes the floor beneath it, and lets you fall through into the truth that was always there, waiting, patient, unimpressed by our scheduling. Notice, too, how grief rearranges the whole shape of memory once it arrives. Ordinary Tuesdays become sacred in hindsight. A shared meal, once forgettable, becomes the last one, and suddenly every detail of it. The light through the window, the sound of a fork against a plate, turns unbearably vivid. The moment didn't change. Only our awareness of its finality did. This is the cruelest trick the illusion plays. It hides significance in plain sight, and only grief seems able to strip away the disguise. What if the significance was always there, waiting to be noticed, without needing loss to reveal it? This is the second layer. The psychological skin beneath the cultural one. Underneath both, something even quieter. Go deeper still. Past the body, past the grief. Into the place where meaning itself is made. Here is a strange thought to sit with: perhaps the illusion of infinite tomorrows isn't a flaw in human thinking. Perhaps it's the price of being a creature that can imagine at all. Only a mind that can picture a future can also lie to itself about how much of it belongs to us. An animal without imagination cannot postpone. It is only now, and now, and now again. A river with no far bank in sight. We built the far bank ourselves. Watch a child for long enough, before language has fully taken hold, and you'll see it. A creature entirely inside its own now. Hunger arrives, and it is the whole world. Comfort arrives, and it is the whole world. There is no ledger yet, no far bank, no tomorrow waiting with its arms crossed. That comes later, taught slowly, sentence by sentence, until the child learns to trade the fullness of this instant for the promise of a better one still to come. It's not a flaw in the teaching. It's the price of becoming someone who can build a bridge, plant an orchard, write a book meant to outlive its author. But something is also lost in the trade, quietly, without ceremony, the way a language is lost when no one is left to speak it. And in doing so, we build both a gift and a wound in the same motion. The gift, we can plan, build, plant trees whose shade we will never sit in, write letters meant for children not yet born. The wound, we can also disappear into that same horizon, trading the one real day we're standing in for 1,000 imagined ones that may never arrive. This is the oldest trade humans have ever made. Presence, exchanged for possibility. Sit with that phrase. Presence, exchanged for possibility. It sounds almost noble, doesn't it? Ambition. Vision. The very qualities we praise in the builders and the dreamers. But underneath the praise is a quieter question, one the culture rarely asks out loud. What does it cost to live mostly in the tense that hasn't happened yet? Some traditions have circled this question for centuries. Not as fact, not as prophecy, but as image, as meditation, as a mirror held up to the same trembling question every generation asks in its own language. The river that never enters the same bend twice. The hourglass that empties whether watched or not. The single breath, in and out, that some old poems call the only unit of time a person is ever truly given. Consider the old image of the river, offered in different words by different cultures, but always circling the same shape. A body of water that is never twice the same, though it appears, from the bank, to be one continuous thing. Step into it today, and the water touching your ankle is already gone before you notice it was ever there. The river doesn't grieve this. It simply moves. Consider, too, the hourglass. Not as a warning, but as a companion. Its sand does not slow because you look away, and it does not speed up because you watch closely. It simply empties, indifferent to attention, at exactly the pace it was always going to empty. There is something almost gentle in that indifference. None of this is a claim about what will happen. It is only a way of looking at what already is. And what already is this, a body, breathing, in a room, on a day that will not repeat itself in exactly this shape again. Not tragic. Not urgent in the anxious sense. Just true, the way weather is true, the way weight is true. This is the third layer, where the myth of endless tomorrows dissolves not into fear, but into a kind of stillness. Not you might die tomorrow, so panic. Something quieter. This is already the only moment there has ever been. It always was. It always will be. The future was never a place you were owed. It was only ever a story, told to make the unbearable vastness of now feel smaller, more manageable, more survivable. Let that settle, the way sediment settles in still water. From here, the mind sometimes wants a practice. Not a rule. An invitation. Something to carry the idea into the body, where it can be felt rather than only understood. 1. Sit in a quiet room, and instead of asking what tomorrow holds, ask only what this exact minute holds. The temperature of the air. The weight of your own hands in your lap. Nothing more. 2. Choose one small task you have postponed. A call, a word, a small repair. And complete it today, not because tomorrow is dangerous, but simply to feel what it is like to close a loop instead of extending it into imagined time. 3. At the end of a day, name 3 moments that already happened, fully, completely, and cannot be taken back. Let yourself feel the strange solidity of a thing that is finished. How different it feels from a thing still waiting. 4. Look at an object that has outlived someone. A photograph, an old letter, a chair no one sits in anymore. Let yourself feel, without flinching away, that the person who once expected countless more tomorrows only ever had the ones they were given. No more, no less. 5. Practice saying a true thing to someone while there is still time to say it. Not because time is about to run out, but because pretending it never will cost something quiet and real every single day it goes unsaid. 6. Sit with your own breath for 60 seconds, and notice that each one arrives without a guarantee of the next. Not as alarm. As fact, plain and unadorned, the way the tide is a fact. 7. Before sleep, instead of listing what tomorrow requires, simply say, in whatever words feel honest, today happened. It will not happen again in this exact form. And that is enough. None of these are secrets. None of these require belief in anything beyond what a body can already feel, sitting still, breathing, aware of its own weight in a chair. None of them ask for a change of religion, or a new set of beliefs, or a system to follow with any particular discipline. They only ask for a few minutes of honesty. The kind that's easy to postpone, and always available the moment you stop postponing it. So where does this leave us? Standing, as we began, in that late gold light that stretches shadows across a familiar floor? Not with an answer. Not with a warning dressed up as wisdom. Only with a way of looking. One lens among many, offered without certainty, held loosely rather than gripped. The illusion of infinite tomorrows may never fully leave us. Perhaps it isn't meant to. Perhaps some myths exist not to be defeated, but to be seen clearly, so that we can choose, more consciously, how much of our one continuous present we trade for a horizon that keeps its distance no matter how far we walk. This was never a claim about fact. Not a prophecy. Not a secret withheld from the world and finally revealed. Only an old question, asked again, in a new voice, the way every generation asks it in its own accent and calls the asking new. Perhaps the invitation is simply this. To notice, every so often, the weight of an actual hour. To feel it the way you'd feel a stone placed deliberately in your palm. Solid, specific, entirely here, asking nothing of tomorrow to be complete. The light is still gold in that room. It always was, in its way, for exactly as long as it lasted, and not one moment longer. Somewhere outside that room, the sun is doing what it has always done. Rising for someone, setting for someone else, indifferent to the calendars we've laid over it like a net over water. It does not know about tomorrow. It only knows this angle, this hour, this particular slant of light against this particular floor. Maybe that's the quiet gift underneath the whole question. Not an answer, but a kind of company. The realization that every person who has ever stood in a room like this one, in light like this one, has faced the exact same unanswerable horizon, and somehow still built something, still said something, still stayed a little longer than they had to. That may be the whole of it.